studios in New York City. Here is Rush Limbaugh.
We are up to day 190 of the raw deal. That's right. The Clinton presidency. Just as Nightline was here every day for the Iranian hostage crisis, so shall I be here throughout every day of the Clinton hostage crisis. The Clinton presidency. That means 1,271 more days left to go. 800-282-2882 is the number to call. I just, we have, my friends, the Rush VIP line, VIP Rush line. In fact, when they were telling me about it, and I said, we still have that? It's totally slipped my mind. What is the number to this line? You know the number right offhand? Okay, hang on. 900-884-RUSH. 99 cents a minute is what it called. Now, what it costs to call. Now, we set this up before the Limbaugh letter was published. This is where you could, back during the days of the Rush to Excellence tour, if you wanted to find out where I was going to be in concert performance, the VIP Rush line would have it. If you wanted to know, if you want to get an autographed picture, if you want to get whatever, this is the number that you call. I guess station, you want a list of stations. If you wanted to leave a comment, you could call this number and tell us if you've been trying and failing to get through to the show. You've been redialing so much, and maybe you've even lost a joint out of your index finger. You've been trying to get through so much. You could leave a comment, and we go through there and listen to comments. So somebody called, I guess HR called the 900 Rush line last night, just for the heck of it, to see. And there's some nut that's gotten hold of the number. And we can't play you what the guy's doing because he's taking the opportunity. He says, you know what? One of the great things about calling this is what I can say without recrimination. Bam! And he launches into a stream of profanity that we can't play for you. And HR said, oh, we can't have this in our line. And HR deleted it. Now, from that, look, this guy is going to keep calling, especially now since I've talked about it. So record this stuff for the Christmas party, anniversary parties, or whatever. This guy has come up with a great line. He's in the midst of all of this profanity. He says, tell me again what it is. He said, I was born during the joke stage of human evolution. I can think of a lot of people that applies to. I was born during the joke stage of human evolution. So if you want to call the VIP Rush line and swear at us, or make other funny comments, if you want to leave a comment period, it's 900-884-RUSH, and it's 99 cents a minute. I get the timber update handy. So we got a major timber update here, ladies and gentlemen. Are we ready? 2 days in a row for this, by the way. This is a good one today. It was a good one yesterday, that's true. Didn't mean to say that this was better than yesterday. It would be as good. Yeah. Tree bites the dust. A beautiful sound, ladies and gentlemen. Another piano is born. More baseball bats come to life. More toys for tots created as another tree bites the dust. Just think of it as a stalk of corn that takes 30 years to grow instead of one season. It's a renewable resource, it's crop. Now, one of the things that is been expertly utilized by the militant environmentalists out there is that there remains in the world virgin forest. There remains virgin growth. And that there's only 5% or so left, and that most of it's been destroyed by America or others imitating America. Most of these virgin trees have been destroyed by capitalism, expansionism, profiteering, greed, selfishness, and most all of it happened to coincide with the 80s. And it's now happening in what they call, and you gotta give me some slack here because we don't accept this term, the rainforest. The rainforest is being, oh, we can't destroy that. Why, if the rainforest is cut down, that's the end of rain, it's the end of the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal will dry up if we cut down the Amazon rainforest. And of course, it's a very clever approach because nobody wants to think that what they're doing is destroying their world or their habitat or their environment. And it's, of course, a crisis. We've got to solve this now. And the only way we can do it is let liberals who care more than you do have a lot of our money and go running around the world fixing the problem. And the solution usually resides in your lifestyle being crimped somehow, your taxes going up, and an assault on capitalism taking place. In truth, ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as a rainforest. It's a jungle. It's a plain, old-fashioned jungle. It's always been a jungle ever since Tarzan movies. Did you ever hear Tarzan say, "Hey, Jane, want to go to the rainforest?" It never was said. It was a jungle, and the jungle was dangerous. It was threatening you to hack your way through it. Things that would kill you lived in there. Now the jungle is a rainforest, and the cure for every disease is in there if we can just keep evil Americans out. The cure for every disease. And because of capitalists, we're destroying it. We're chopping it down. We're burning it. We're destroying this beautiful, lovely the jungle. Well, of course, I have been one of those ever since this movement began who doubted this panic-oriented approach by the militant environmentalists. I have suggested to you it's not true. I've suggested to you that try as hard as we might, we cannot destroy the world. What vanity must we have to think that we can? As in the case of ozone. We're destroying that, right? So let's say Ronald Reagan wanted to give every Democrat skin cancer. I use this example in my book. Ronald Reagan wants to give every Democrat skin cancer, so he calls in Cap Weinberg and says, "Cap, I want all ozone destroyed by the end of the year." Mr. President, we can't do it. Why not? Well, because we'd have to put out the sun. The sun creates it, and we got a big problem there. It's just so much of a myth, this notion that we are destroying. I'm not saying we don't damage. I'm not saying that we can't do things to protect and prolong, but we're not. And especially increased technology, rising standards of living, the spread of capitalism is not responsible for the destruction of these things. Oh, people have said, "Well, you just don't understand. You don't care. You're a heartless, cold, cruel conservative, and as long as you've got yours, you don't care. And you've just got your head in the clouds." And I'd say this, and militant, angry scientists would write hate letters, and I'd receive them on CompuServe, and I'd say, "You don't have a right to talk about this because you're not a man of science, and you da-da-da-da." So I have not responded in any way other than to wait patiently for evidence to support my side. Because what we do here is relentlessly pursue the truth. And guess what, my friends? Today, another glorious opportunity for me to share with you, for me to tell you, getting rid of the word share too, gets another liberal word, the truth. I am holding here my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. Here, let me do this for the camera. A massive story. A massive story. Oh, you like it that way so it's not as loud, huh? All right. There. Okay. I have here a massive story. I don't know how many words, huge number of words. New York Times, science section yesterday. Headline, "Rainforest seen as shaped by human hand." I have jungle seen as shaped by human hands, how it ought to read. For decades, La Selva, a lush, dripping jungle. There it says it. First paragraph, first sentence. For decades, La Selva, a lush, dripping jungle filled with towering trees and swinging vines, has served as the quintessential example of a pristine rainforest. untouched and unchanged for millenniums. But scientists who have begun to look more closely into the history of the world's rainforests say they are finding clues that this one and others like it are not the stable museums of biodiversity they were thought to be. Dr. David Clark, or Deborah Clark, I'm sorry, who shares the position of station director at the La Selva Biological Station, this is in Costa Rica, by the way, with her husband, Dr. David Clark, says there is no such thing as virginity out there in the jungle. In the jungle. Let me be clear. There is, talking about New York, she's probably true. New York City public school system, she's probably accurate. But she's accurate also in talking about the jungle. No such thing as virginity. In the Darien Gap Forest, we're quoting now from another scientist who's down there studying this a jungle in Panama. In the Darien Gap Forest, we thought we'd see a long history of no change. The forests look wonderful, bigger trees than you see in La Selva. Capybara everywhere, king vultures everywhere. It just looked really pristine, but sure enough, 4,000 years ago, there was maize cultivation. And just 300 years ago, maize was cultivated here too. Moreover, said Dr. Sanford, an ecologist at the University of Denver, whose work has been funded by the Andrew Mellon Foundation, almost everywhere we go in Latin America and Asia and Africa, we find charcoal buried in the soil. Charcoal buried in the soil. People have in one way or another cut and burned almost every place in the tropics. Do you mean ancient civilizations at one with nature, more capable and more qualified to live in the jungle than white guys from Europe, actually burned the rainforest back then and left charcoal residue? How could it be? This is supposed to be virgin land. It's supposed to be pristine, untouched, just like it was when Columbus arrived here. He was supposed to have encountered a most glorious, pristine environment. But it was the New York Times which debunked that myth as well. Alerted to the possibility of human influences on the rainforest at La Selva, Dr. Deborah Clark and Dr. David Clark have looked for and recently found evidence in the oldest of La Selva's woods that humans have altered the landscape by harvesting for the dinner table. There were people who ate the jungle, my friends. They ate it. They didn't just cut it down. They didn't just burn it out. They ate it. Ancient civilizations more capable than are we of understanding the beauteous call of nature ate nature. They ate it, and they probably ate it raw, because they didn't have microwaves then. Imagine the damage they could have done had they. A favorite Costa Rican food is the heart of palm. Particularly delicious when taken from the Eritrea palm tree. To harvest the heart, which is the growing tip, the entire tree must be sacrificed, it says here. So they sacrifice trees to get to the heart of palm. Granted, my friends, a lot of theatrics here, but the bottom line is that as time goes on, and as the New York Times, no more credible source can you find for this kind of... The New York Times has, look at all of the myths that they have recently debunked about the environment, about U.S. destruction of it. I am proud to come to you and say, see, I told you so. That's why my next book is entitled such. And it'll be rife with such examples. Play the timber update one more time as a close, and then we'll go to a break and come back with phone calls from the people in a minute. Folks, listeners tell me that they love their hot spring portable spas. It's a fun and healthy way to relax. Now, you know, Hot Spring is the #1 selling portable spa. They have 6 different models to choose from. They're all completely self-contained units. Heating and plumbing are all built in, and installations a snap. Like that. From Alaska to New Zealand, and of course, all across the fruited plain, people are raving about their Hot Spring portable spas. Imagine knowing that right in your own backyard, 12 months a year, 24 hours a day, the hot, swirling, soothing water awaits you and your family. I can feel the tension leaving me even now. Now, the people at Hot Spring are particularly proud of their 450 dealers. Give them a call, 800-766-4772. Or check them out in the Yellow Pages. That's 1-800-766-4772. Hot Spring Portable Spas, where America, led by my listeners, goes to relax.
This is Kevin Trudeau, founder of the American Memory Institute. Imagine having a virtual photographic memory and being able to meet over 100 people and remember all their names. Or have instant recall of everything you see, hear, or even think about. Over 2 million people have already benefited from the Mega Memory Home Study course and released their own instant recall memory. Now it's your turn. Call 1-800-327-MEGA. That's 1-800-327-MEGA.
And now, another edition of Behind the Scenes at the Clinton White House. Today, Bill finds out that some of his tax proposals may hit a little too close to home.
I think we've come up with a way to get exempted from all these new taxes. Now look, if we have a 1-to-5 ratio of soybeans to beef, we can get around that fat tax. Now the special sauce, I figured we could just put that in under research and development since nobody really knows what it is. And of course, lettuce, pickle, and onion are allowed as a vegetable credit. And if we had them use government cheese, we could count that as part of a commodities program. Well, I guess that about does it. Yes, Al?
Mr. President, you forgot about the sesame seeds.
Oh, my goodness. Well, look, I want everybody working on a substitute, and I want it ready by 5 o'clock. Now, about those fries.
Join us next time as we take you behind the scenes at the Clinton White House.
When you can't breathe, it doesn't matter who you are, or where you were born, or who you know, or how much money you make. When you can't breathe, the only thing that matters is your next breath. Since 1904, the American Lung Association has fought lung disease such as tuberculosis, emphysema, lung cancer, and asthma. With your help, the American Lung Association can continue to provide funds for research. And they can keep on working to keep our air clean. In short, they can continue to help adults and children lead healthy lives. But the American Lung Association would not and could not make a difference without support from people like you. And people like you can reach out to us by simply looking in the white pages for the phone number of your local lung association. Support the American Lung Association, because when you can't breathe, nothing else matters.
From the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, I am Rush Limbaugh, head lecturer and chancellor. 800-282-2882 if you'd like to be on the program. I just logged on to CompuServe, folks, and there's a note here. Notes are delivered, by the way, electronic mail. The author of the note, the person who writes the note, has to fill in a subject line. And when you get the mail is delivered to you by subject in the author's name. Subject here is the voice of logic and all reason. That obviously is a note about me, wouldn't you think? From somebody writing me. So let's go see what it says. Together. I don't know what it's going to say. Let's watch it not be about me. Let's see. Double click on it, and voila, here it comes. Dear Dr. Limbaugh. It has to be since he called me Dr. Limbaugh. I'd like to take this time to thank you for bringing the conservative message to not only the people of America, but now to the world. It is because of you I have formulated my own ideas and moral and ethical stands on issues. And sorry to say that they are not all like yours. But that's the greatest gift that you give. The gift of free thought. A gift that will last in the mind forever. This is what it's like to be me. Well, you just log on to CompuServe and read the mail. I have seen many ideas expressed here, and do you know what is extremely funny? When the idea is extremely radical or leftist, the campus understands the groups and tries to comfort them. But when a conservative issue or idea arises, the student body is the first one to criticize. Well, obviously the letter has it right. The very important point is that people who listen to this program indeed practice their own individual thought. They are not puppets, robots. They're not people being led around by shackle and chain. I think this program promotes and inspires more thought than most programs out there because it's compelling, it's intriguing. Hey, I never thought of that before. And people begin to consider a certain point of view. And I find it interesting that liberals always criticize me. This guy is dangerous. He's just creating a bunch of robots out there. This guy, and he doesn't even mean it. That's what they love to say. This guy, he just laughing all the way to the bank. He doesn't mean a thing. He says these people are loaded for bear, though. They buy every syllable of it. When the fact is, that's exactly the truth with the liberals. The liberals are the ones who think that you don't know what's going on, that you're not capable of knowing what's going on. And if you are a unique person capable of knowing what's going on, then you surely aren't capable of understanding what's going on. Hence, they have to tell you. They have to explain it to you in the way they want you to understand it. Somebody comes along and says, it's not that way, and they think, this guy is a threat to democracy. He is threatening us. He's threatening the way we are the ones who have the education and the training to tell people what to think or what's going on. So when I get a letter like this, I am very pleased to get it. It's the same thing as when people call here or write and suggest, this Limbaugh guy, he's afraid to debate people. He's afraid to take calls from people who disagree with him. You never hear them. We strive to find them. In fact, when I came and sat down for this show today, Mr. Snerdley had 4 calls lined up. I said, gee, it looks like we have some people who disagree with me today. Did I not do this? And sadly, they weren't people who disagreed. They did in a minor way, but not majorly. If you disagree, you have a question, feel free to call. We'll put you in front of the line. But you better disagree. Otherwise, we'll zap you. Back in a moment.
School's out. Report cards are in. If that report card said, get help with reading this summer, try Hooked on Phonics. Hooked on Phonics is a fun and easy way to sound out and read most of the words in the English language. So from preschool to high school. This summer, let Hooked on Phonics be your personal reading tutor. Maybe this fall, you'll be at the head of the class. Call Hooked on Phonics. 1-800-ABCDEFG.
spatulas, and that's all.
Don't forget, they make great Christmas presents. And what better way to say I love you than with the gift of a spatula?
Spatula City! Spatula City!
Hello, this is Cy Greenbloom, president of Spatula City. I like their spatulas so much, I bought the company.
Spatula City, 7 locations. We're in the yellow pages under spatulas.
Spatula City, we sell spatulas, and that's all.
Why do I give blood? The one night my wife was coming home from a school meeting in an old station wagon that gave us so much trouble. Another car from out of nowhere slammed into her. And Julia, who'd never spent a day in the hospital, was suddenly fighting for her life. They said she'd need a lot of blood and prayers to pull through. I gave blood. Friends gave blood. And we all gave prayers. And Julia pulled through. I wouldn't want to live through that again, but I can't forget it. And how much that blood meant to Julia. So I give blood every couple of months. And I think, this is for you, Julia. I'm so glad I didn't lose you. Take you to the world headquarters of the EIB Broadcast Network in beautiful downtown New York City, and journey to the 17th floor, to the patriotic center of the universe, the Rush Limbaugh Broadcast Studios, where daily Mr. Limbaugh broadcasts truth to the truth-starved multitudes of North America. And now, ready to take his hallowed place behind the golden EIB microphone, is the great one himself, Mr. Rush Limbaugh.
Thank you, Johnny Donovan, and not just now broadcasting truth to the truth-starved millions of North America. No, it's now worldwide. The EIB World Service transmits on shortwave at 15.420 megahertz, a signal which has been received in every country in the world. So you can't escape this program no matter where you go around the world. Let's return to the phones now. It's been a while. Augusta, Georgia, and I guess it's Leroy. Leroy, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Rush. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, sir.
Listen, I'm one of those people who is not a robot, and I wanted to call and disagree with you on something, although I normally agree with most everything that you have on your show, and I appreciate the job you do. But the disagreement that I wanted to talk to you about is a piece that you just got through doing here a second ago, and that was the timber update.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any argument with the premise that you're using. You know, I was raised out in the country, and country people recognized years and years before others did there is no such thing as virgin timber. You know, usually they talk about old growth, and that usually is measured in terms of human lifespan.
I know. This whole virgin argument, I mean, if it's virgin, they better be able to prove it's as old as the world.
Right.
Which they can't.
But the disagreement that I have with you is this: whenever you get on and you have your piece with the guitar and the chainsaw and all that, I think that's a funny piece, and I enjoy it. But the problem is that there are a lot of people out there like myself who have seen abuses of forests, and who have seen where people come in and clear cut an area and just leave it in a wreck. And one of the points that you made is it's okay to cut the forest because it's a renewable resource, and I agree with you 100%. Problem is I don't think you emphasize the renewability of it. One of the things I'd like you to comment on is whenever you talk about renewing it, that means somebody's got to go out there, and after they clear cut an area, that means they've got to plant more trees or something like that.
How can you say this? Now, seriously, how can you say this?
Because I listen to your show. I'm one of your guys here. I'm one of the true believers here.
And I'm the guy who's pointed out that Weyerhaeuser has got spotted owls living in 30-year-old trees that they're growing. I'm the guy who's pointed out that on Mount St. Helens, they got two plots of ground. One where they're just letting trees come back naturally, and the other where a forest company, timber company's gone in there and they're nurturing it, and trees are growing faster than anybody ever thought. I have made the case, I think, better and more often than anybody, that because of capitalism, we have more acres of forest in the continental United States today than we had 70 years ago. We have more woods. We have more places to hit golf balls. We got more places to get to know members of the opposite sex than we've had in the last 100 years or 200 years, because we have the ability to put out forest fires. We replant businesses if you're in the tree cutting business or in the timber business, what do you need to survive? Timber. And how do you get it? You plant it.
Right.
So look, I'm always open to constructive criticism. But I think that you're shortchanging me here a little bit.
Okay, well, that may be because I have to admit to you, I've only been listening for about the past, 3 or 4 months. And once I found out, I'd heard about you, and the kind of approach you take before, but I'd never had a chance to listen. And once I was able to find a station, that played you, then I was really excited and was glad to listen.
Thank you.
The thing is, that's the only thing. I'm glad that you're saying all that now, because maybe this is giving you another opportunity to reiterate.
Well, see, I'll tell you what, you are exactly right. Let me tell you something here. This audience, this show, we have just received today the spring rating results that finally sees in the country. This program has shown a 76% growth from 1 year ago. The winter rating book was a phenomenal achievement for us. Number one show in Los Angeles, number one show in San Francisco, number one show in Sacramento, number one show in Orlando, number one show in Houston. We are the number one radio show, AM, FM, daytime, nighttime, in, I think, 11 cities. And it happened during the winter book, and we have grown 2% since then. What that means is that many people are hearing this program for the first time, or haven't heard it very long, so they hear it out of context. So your call is a godsend. Your call is a great opportunity to help people understand what happens here in context. A lot of people say to me, for example, let me just run a test here. Leroy, have you ever heard me do the famous caller abortion?
No, I guess I haven't.
Have you heard about the caller abortion?
No, I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Okay, well, some 5 years ago, when this show went national, to illustrate my point of view on abortion, I had what I called caller abortions. The problem with caller abortions is that it takes 10 minutes to do it sufficiently well so that people understand it. If you hear this out of context, it is the most outrageously offensive thing you can hear, and people don't understand it. So I stopped doing it, because I can't take 10 or 15 minutes to do it every time I do it. So point is that this show must be heard in context. That's why I've always said you can't understand this show in 1 day. You cannot understand this show in 1 week. You can't understand this show in 6 weeks. 6 weeks is bare minimum. That's training wheels, period. You have to listen to this show for months to be up to speed sufficiently to understand the detail, the depth, the range, the diversity, the intelligence, the overall broad areas that are discussed on here and how they are treated. And so your call has given me an opportunity to bring you and others up to speed. So
I appreciate that, and I want to say that your show is one of the true alternatives. Well, as far as I know, it's the only alternative to to the same old garbage we've been fed by everybody who's in control of the typical media. And I really appreciate the fact that you point out, I may not agree with you in every case, and I may, after a while understand your context and all that. And I intend to listen for a long time. But just recognize that there's a lot of people out there who are instantaneously turned off and then never listen to you again.
No, that's not true.
Thing to happen.
They are instantaneously outraged and drawn back to try to understand what they just heard. There is. I don't think there's a documented case on record. You can't find somebody that's heard something in this show, been so outraged they never listen again. They're drawn back to it to try to understand it. But I understand your point. I know what you're saying. The point of these updates, if you listen, like this is the timber update. I do that for a reason. Everything I do here has a political point to be made. It's not just done frivolously. Nothing's done here to shock. Nothing is done here for the pure, easy intention of being outrageous. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. It takes no talent whatsoever to be shocking or outrageous. Everything here has a point. That's why, playing the homeless update, there are people after 5 years who still think the homeless update is about making fun of homeless people. It is not. The homeless update is solely devoted to pointing out the sheer hypocrisy and fraud that exists in the homeless advocacy. And the homeless advocacy people and their programs and so forth. But when you play the song, you ain't got no home, then people think you're making fun of homeless people, and that's why you shouldn't be too quick to judge, especially you critics. You can't do this in one listen, you can't do this in 2 or 3, and you certainly can't do it if all you're trying to do is find things to fit into your preconceived notion or prejudice about what goes on here. Because what goes on here is deep. What goes on here is detailed, and it's poignant, and it's substantiated, and it is solely devoted to the relentless pursuit of the truth. And when we make a mistake, we open the show with the correction. We do not hide behind it. We flaunt it. We triumph our correction so as not to be accused falsely. And those who understand this but fail to say they understand it or fail to try to understand it are simply frightened, fearful, on their last legs, probably over for them. They just don't know it. We'll take a break. Be back with more right after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
There are a lot of conservatives out there, a lot of conservatives like me on radio, a lot of conservatives on TV, and a lot of conservatives who write what they think. So, what's the definitive source of conservative thought? Other than me? Why, my friends, it's the Conservative Chronicle. This is a weekly publication. You get 52 issues a year. It's only $39. You know what it is? It's the epitome of the heart of conservatism. All the nationally syndicated conservative columnists in this country and their work reprinted in this publication every week. There's no single source, no better source you can refer to. If you keep every issue, you are building a database that's accessible by a very detailed table of contents of some of the finest, profound conservatism ever assembled. The Conservative Chronicle, $39 a year. Here's the number to call, 800-888-3039. That's 1-800-888-3039. Call them now.
We're making a list of good points and bad points of owning a swimming pool from Atlantic Pool and Spa of Goldsboro. First, the good points. A pool is a great investment. It increases the value of your home. It's a great exercise. Swimming gets you in shape and helps you stay in shape. A swimming pool is aesthetically pleasing and calming. Picture yourself relaxing by the pool after a long day. Not to mention, it's a tremendous amount of fun. And now the bad points. Well, there you go. No reason to wait. Call Atlantic Pool and Spa today about an underground or above-ground pool featuring Fort Wayne pools. Atlantic Pool and Spa not only sells but services as well, offering water testing, advice on what you need, and other stuff. They've got a complete line of chemicals to make your pool safe and clean. And Atlantic Pool and Spa can repair anything that has anything to do with the pool except the water. Atlantic Pool and Spa is on the service road off Highway 70 bypass between Wayne Memorial Drive and William Street. Buy your pool from a dealer who knows what he's doing. Offering excellent service for 18 years, Atlantic Pool and Spa, 580-1111.
Madison's has moved to their new location. That Madison's buffet that others try to duplicate. Those magnificent steaks, prime rib and lobster tails that you've grown to love have moved to the former River House location. Enjoy the lunch and dinner buffet Monday through Friday, the Saturday dinner buffet, and the Sunday lunch buffet in a larger, more elegant setting. There's plenty of parking and elbow room, too, so join Buddy and Kathy Myers for lunch and dinner at the new Madison's on New Hope Road in Goldsboro.
All About Travel is your official Walt Disney World headquarters. Call now for Disney's Festival Magic Package, which includes 4 nights hotel accommodations at either the Caribbean Beach Hotel, the Port Orleans Hotel, or the Dixie Landing Hotel, and admission to all of the parks in Disney. Prices start at just $371 per adult, so get your reservations now. Call 751-0464. All About Travel in Cobblestone Place. All About Travel, what travel is all about.
WGBR.
A legend, a way of life. This is the Rush Limbaugh program. Learn it, love it, live it. 800-282-2882. Back to the phones, too. Let's try Pensacola, Florida. Bill, hi. Welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program.
Hello, Rush. Super Megaditos from Pensacola.
Thanks for waiting. I appreciate your patience.
No problem. I'd wait till Clinton gets out of office. I just want you to know it's a privilege to talk to you, to the man that Clinton was probably forced to give the Medal of Freedom to here before he's over. The reason I called, sir, I wore your deficit spending awareness ribbon, and I kind of modified it, and I guess you might call this symbolism with substance. I went to a mall, and on top of it I put EIB, dittos, ditto heads, and I grabbed the Coke, sat down, and the lady asked me what it all meant. She says, what does dittos mean? And I unfolded the card, and I just said, basically, it means don't impose terrible taxes on me, stupid. She asked what EIB was. I said, excellent broadcasting, but I also pulled the card down and it said, educate competent bill and eradicate competent bill. And these people got really hostile, about 4 of them, and before I know it, 5, maybe 8 more people come over and started sticking up for you, and maybe a little symbolism with substance. They don't like that.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Since you were out amongst the people, you were at the quintessential location where you find Americana, the mall, right? Last night, late, I get home, I'm watching Equal Time. Mary Madeline and Jane. That's all she does, Wallace. She just cackles. And they had Howard Feynman from Newsweek on it. Howard Feynman just got back in from a trip to the Midwest, and what Howard Feynman retraced Clinton's bus trip from 48th and Lexington here in New York out to Illinois. The bus trip that the Clinton-Gore campaign took after the Democratic Convention. And you know what he said? And I've not heard this. I've not heard this from, and I would think I would be the one hearing it. He said everywhere they went, that people, Republicans, were coming up to him and saying, go easy on that young man. Be nicer to that young man, meaning Clinton, meaning get off his back. He said Republicans are saying this. Now, I mean, the number of times I have that said to me on CompuServe, for example, are so few. If I count them on one hand. Did you find that when you were out there with this ribbon and these notes that you were wearing that somehow were being critical of the president, did you have people coming up to you saying, be nicer to him, come on, give him some slack, anything like that at all?
No, sir. Everybody gave me a thumbs up. I just retired out of the military this month, and they all seem to be for you. Everybody who's listening, I just can't hear very few negative comments. They just opened a rush room down here.
No. I mean about Clinton. When you...
Oh, no, sir. Nobody come up and says be nice to him. I just think that's a bunch of bull that's going on.
I heard that. I must admit, I was perplexed because I've not heard, especially Republicans, who make a point to go up to a member of the press and say, "Hey, you know, I voted for Bush, but gee, go easy on me." I've heard Democrats after the election say, "Hey, he's our president. What are you doing criticizing him? You better stop. This is un-American." To which I said, "You ever heard of Reagan? When didn't you just spend the last 12 years complaining and moaning about Reagan and Bush? Why all of a sudden now criticism isn't allowed because it's your guy?" Bill, I'm glad you called. Thanks very much for the time. Lancaster, Pennsylvania's next. Ted, hi. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Rush. Mega ditto.
Thank you.
I was listening to your show yesterday. You opened up with a statement about tax breaks for the poor. And later on, there was a woman who had stated that all she's seeing is Clinton spending money, and when is the cuts going to start? Last week, I was listening to one of the talk shows at night. I think it was C-SPAN. And there was one of the president's advisors there. It wasn't Gergen or Stephanopoulos, some young guy. He stated that...
They're all young.
I know that. He was in charge of making up the buzzwords that you hear the White House using all the time. And one of the newscasters, I think there were people from the media that had asked him, when are we going to hear something about welfare reform? And he stated that very proudly, he got a big smile on his face, that one thing that they were going to come out with probably next month was what they call reverse taxation. And this is probably the same thing that you had heard somebody say about tax breaks before. He stated that if anybody was working 40 hours a week and didn't make a certain amount of money, they would file their income tax, and the federal government would write them a check for the difference. And he didn't say what the figure would be, say it's $15,000, $20,000, I don't know.
Yeah.
In other words, no need for the minimum wage laws, I guess. I don't know. But as long as you're working 40 hours a week, it sounds a little socialist to me.
No, let me tell you what this is. What this is this administration is trying to convince people that the tax code can create wealth, or that the tax code can create or eliminate poverty. And he wants, this is just as fraudulent and disingenuousness as any of these campaign promises were that he made. To sit there and say that if you work 40 hours a week, we're going to see to it that you are not going to live in poverty in America. And I don't know, and he's going to use the tax code for this. It's part and parcel of the class envy that has been successfully exploited by this administration. And it's designed to be a broad-based appeal to most people. Most people are not rich. Most people are not wealthy, as defined by this administration. And it's simply I think a cheap way to create more and more dependency. One of the things that bothers me greatly in this country, or about the country now, and I wrote about this, or do write about it in my upcoming future bestseller, See, I Told You So, and that is that there seem to be more and more people who actually think that when they stick their hand out, the government should put something there, that they're entitled to something. That's indeed the purpose of governments, take care of people. And I think we owe this to FDR and a succession of Democrat presidents and congressmen who have successfully exploited that for their own power. I'm glad you called, Ted. Thanks again. We got to go. This time is zipping by today, folks, but we'll be back with more right after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network. Last April, David Koresh and 80 followers perished in the Waco Holocaust. Authorities claim they were a threat to society, but the reclusive Branch Davidians owned fewer guns than most Texans. Did they really die for political reasons? Read our report, then decide. The American Spectator answers explosive questions about the Waco tragedy. Did ATF agents move in on Koresh to divert attention from an agency sex scandal? Was the raid designed to curry favor with the liberal Clinton administration? What unwitting role did 60 Minutes play in the timing of the raid? Finally, did David Koresh really die because he was a white male religious gun collector?